Tan, and today we are talking about your own story, your hero's journey. This is such a delicious topic because for like for the manyth time we are talking about something that is fully focusing on yourself. So if you are someone that is working on yourself, you're really taking a look at your life, you're taking stock, you are looking at how far you've come, and you're looking towards the new year and you want to see how much further you want to go, then this video is for you because you are legendary and you have something great to share. And I want to be here to help you pull your story together so that it becomes really story worthy. It becomes like something that you feel really, really proud that you want to share to share with the world. So I'm truly excited about this. Now, the reason why I decided to talk about pulling your story together is because oftentimes I have worked with clients, and myself included, and I have I have heard a lot of questions around like I feel like I haven't really made it yet. And this is the same belief across all the different people who feel like they're not really in the place to tell their story because I feel like I haven't really made it yet. I feel like I don't really have anything to show. I feel like I don't really have like evidence, or I feel like I haven't really been to the desired place of my life where I feel like I can be an authority, I can be like the person to tell the story. And I feel like if I were to tell my story now, it probably doesn't really have that much of an impact if than the other person over there, because the other person over there who is telling their story is a lot more interesting. They have already walked the journey. They already have an amazing story to tell. They have a great comeback and they're already successful. And so we have this like little voice in our heads telling us that we're nobody and our story really doesn't mean that much, and we're not already there, and therefore our story would really not have that much of an impact. And my desire today in this video is to change everything. I desire to change that. I believe, and the reason I'm doing this is because I believe truly from the bottom of my heart that your story is so powerful to the person who needs to hear it, only if you're willing to tell it. There is so much power to your voice. There is so much power to what has already happened in your life, in the way that you have overcome it, in the way that you have figured things out, in the way that you are continuing to figure things out, even though things are not exactly put together or things are not already there. There is so much power in that voice. And there is so much power in your willingness to tell the story. So, my goal today is to dismantle 5 big beliefs that I've seen a lot of my clients have about their own story and their willingness to tell the story, and the power that they have behind the story, so that you can fully take ownership of the things that happened in your life, of the seasons of your life, of how things happened in your life and how you responded to those events, and fully just taking ownership of the unfolding of your story, so that as you are riding your waves and as you are writing your story, you're writing each day, you're writing each chapter, you're able to fully take ownership of that. You're able to see that everything is already happening, and that you don't have to already be someone or be somewhere in order to have the authority and the power to say it. First thing that I want to say before we dive into that is that a story, like a complete story, is actually an illusion. A lot of times when you see that there is the beginning and then there is the climbing uphill, there's the struggle, and then there is the peak where that person reaches the apex of the mountain and then they reach success. A lot of times when you hear these stories, people have already made it, like at some point in their lives. In their own definition or in your definition, they have made it. They're already somewhere. They have already climbed through a lot of hardships. There are people who are continuing to climb their mountains, and then there are people who no longer have a chance to climb those mountains, meaning like maybe they're no longer around, or maybe they've completely changed focus. But I want to tell you that the people who have already walked it, that is kind of, their story is kind of an illusion, because the idea that they're successful is a story that you're kind of looking back in hindsight. So you're standing at a place where this person's success and this person's uphill climb and this person's challenges is already history. It's no longer the present. It's past. And this person has made it. But when the person was in it, that person was also walking uphill. That person was also facing his challenges. That person was also in it until the person has overcome it. So what you need to know about your story as you're watching this video, as you're being in this moment, figuring out your story and writing the chapters, is to acknowledge that I am still writing my story and I am still in it, and that my story is still happening. Like, it's a present tense. And so, of course, you probably don't have everything figured out yet. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there, because a lot of times when we hear stories, it's because other people have already completed their journey. They've already walked it. They've already reached their mountains in the societal terms and expectations. But your story is still in the happening. So the shift number one that I wanted to bring to the table, now things are getting good, is that your story is not only composed of all the times when you're cruising along, when things are going easy, when things are happening. It's not like when things are just, just flying into your window. It's also of the moments when you feel like you're sliding backwards. It's also the moments when you feel like your back is up against the wall and you don't know what to do, when you feel like you're running out of options, and you look to your left and you look to your right and it's danger everywhere. It's also those moments. And a lot of times those moments are not glamorous, and those moments make us feel like, we're just at a very low point in our life, that we cannot see how this is possibly our story. We cannot see how possibly our hero's journey is composed of moments like this. But for as long as you know that your story is still in the writing, and that this is also a significant part of your journey, the hardships, the arguments, the conflict, the giving up on yourself, the not having any hope at all, not knowing what to do, feeling like I've just given all my effort and I don't know what to do with all this effort that I've given, and nothing has come out of this. All of that, it's an integral part of your story. And we're going to talk about why later. So, shift number 2 is that your story is not only happening when something is happening. A lot of times when we listen to stories, like when we listen to the highlights of things like a turning point, a pivot, something that happened, and all those things. But I want to tell you that when you are at a standstill, when you're procrastinating, when you're at your crossroads, like there are 2 different directions I could take, and I'm standing in the middle, and I'm looking at these 2 different directions, and I don't know where to go, and you've just stopped, like that feeling, or when you feel like you're lost, or you're pivoting, or you're just in a place of plateau or stagnation, like I've grown to a certain place of my life and I feel like everything's just kind of bland and I'm like plateauing. I want to tell you that this is also a part of your story. So a lot of people think that In order for my story to keep going, there's got to be something interesting happening. And if there's nothing interesting happening, then it's not a story. But I want to tell you that even when nothing interesting, like in your head you consider interesting, is happening, that your story continues to write itself. The fact that you identify that you are in a standstill, that something is happening in your energy and you are at a crossroad of your energy, it means that something is happening. It's just that you haven't seen the next step yet. And this is so important to realize because a lot of times we feel like we've got to just do something. Like if our story were to be interesting and if we were to be going somewhere and if I were to be making an impact, I better make the impact like right now. And if I weren't doing something right now and if I weren't doing something valuable right now and moving forward, it would mean that there's really nothing happening in my life, but that is not true. It is also a part of your story. It is also a part of your hero's journey. The fact that you're standing in this crossroads and you don't know what to do, and then there's all this like emotional turmoil and you're trying to like figure out like, do I go this way? Do I go that way? It's all a part of it. The third shift that needs to happen is that your story is not meaningless or it's not for nothing unless you're already someone or you're already somewhere. This concept that we need to have already made a huge impact on other people's lives and that we need to have already reached a certain level of success makes us feel like when we say something, it doesn't matter as much as the other person over there because I haven't walked their path. But what I want to tell you is that yes, indeed, that person has walked that path. That person has achieved that level of success. That person is already somewhere. But I want to say that the reason why there's so much power in the way that you tell your story now is because you are saying it from where you are now. So the way that you say it and the way that you tell your story has a unique frequency to land with the people that need to hear you from where you're standing. So that means when the person is standing over there on top of the mountain, it probably would not resonate as much as when other people hear it from where you're standing because you're walking it. Now, the only time when your story actually doesn't mean anything is when you make it mean that it's nothing. Like if you have determined to yourself that whatever it is that I'm experiencing, it actually doesn't matter, it has no meaning, and it will never contribute to anything, and that it's never going to impact anyone, and there's nothing that's going to come out of it, then it's just nothing, right? If you make it mean that it's nothing, then it's nothing because you don't choose to see the value in it. But if you see that where I am, yes, maybe I'm not there where that person is, but I am there here. So I can take ownership of this and that what I'm telling people right now, it resonates with them in a certain way, in the way that they need to hear it, in the way that I need to say it. So this is very powerful. Leading from our third point, the fourth shift is that it's not about getting there. Why is that? Because getting over there is a concept of being where somebody else is. But what's really important to remember as we are writing the story of our life is to remember that here is the only thing we will ever be. In this body, in this circumstance, in this situation, in this in this circumstance, with these exact same set of circumstances surrounding us in our life, with these people in our lives, it's a very unique set of challenges that can only be presented to us in the way that it shows up to us right now. Like, there is no one on the planet, and I can guarantee you that there is no one on the planet that will face the same kind of circumstances, even though there are very similar kind of circumstances that other people face. But there is no one on the planet that will face the circumstances in the exact same combination, with the exact same emotions and the exact same sequence, with the exact same people as you do. So what that means is your imagination and your dream of getting there actually does not apply to where that person is. That doesn't apply, because that person had their unique set of challenges that made their story powerful and unique in their way. So you can never say that I want to be over there, because that wouldn't be possible, because that would mean that you would have to have the same challenges, the same circumstances, the same people, the same sequence, same emotions, and you would handle them in the same way, and then eventually you would somehow end up over there. That doesn't exist. That does not exist in the place of the universe. So all you can really take ownership of is being right here, where you are, in your situation, handling the thing that you're handling, talking to the people you're talking to, dealing with the problems that you're dealing right now, and the challenges that you're facing right now is unique to you. You can only be here. There's no such thing as trying to get over there where that other person is. The shift number 5, this is the final shift, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so powerful. Now, the final thing I want you to take away from these shifts is that your story is not determined by the epicness of events. I know how silly that sounds, but your story is not determined by the bigness and the epicness of events. What I mean by that is, a lot of times when my clients tell me, like, Eunice, I just feel like the thing that I experienced, it doesn't really have that much of an impact if I tell people, because like it really wasn't that much. Like, you know, maybe I had a really big life problem. To me, it was big, but maybe to other people, it's really not that big. And I feel like if I were to tell the story, it doesn't really make that much of an impact, because it's not that big of a problem. It's just like life, like usual life events, like kind of like everyday things. But I want to tell you that your story is not defined by the bigness and the epicness and the tragedy of the events. So what that means is we're not looking for scale here. We're not looking for like, you know, if I tell this one thing, then it's going to impact like 100 million people. Like, we're not looking for that type of impact. We're looking for how you responded to these events. And it's not about how long it took for you to overcome. It's not about how quick you took to overcome, like, oh, I was able to do this in a day, or I was able to figure out in like 5 hours, or I took like 50 years to like solve this problem. Like, it's not about this. It's not about the bigness or the smallness or the length or the shortness of the rapidness of how these events took place. What it is about, I have found, is how I respond to these events and the way that I respond to them. Even if it's like the tiniest thing, even if it's like making the tiniest decision. If I were to tell a story of me making a decision, of just deciding that my dog is going to have 8 puppies, and I just decided that I was going to have faith that I'm going to be able to handle it, having 8 puppies, 1 adult dog, and 1 cat running around at home, that I would be totally okay. That story, you can bet that it would have an impact. It's not a big story. It's not, you know, a big tragedy happening. It's not like me overcoming a life challenge. But my story is about how I responded to these sequence of events, and who I am as I continue to walk my story. So it's about who you are when you come face to face with your challenges in the moment that you need to make these decisions. It's about who you are as a character. It's about, you know, when something bad happened, it's how you happened, it's how you responded to the low points in your life. It's how you picked yourself back up. It's how you cleaned up your mess. It's how you know, made sense of your emotions. And when something good happened in your life, it's about how you were able to celebrate. It's about how you're able to share that with the people around you, with the people you love. When something good happened, it's about how you took the good to even more amazing, and that, you know, it's about how you took it to the next level and how you made it like even more epic than it already was. To sum this all up, I want to tie this together because I know that I've been running this video for a very long time. I want to tell you that your story, your hero's journey, is really composed of three very important elements. Like, if you're able, you don't have to hit all these three things, but if you're able to hit one of these three things, then you would have yourself a very epic story and beautiful story to tell. So the first thing is the comeback. You've got to have the comeback. The comeback is when you're in your low point and you don't know what to do and you feel like your back is up against the wall, how you responded to those low points in your life, because those are the moments that actually matter. The second thing is the holding. Now, what do I mean by the holding? The holding is when things are like cruising along for you, it's happening good for you, like you found some stability in your life and you're, you know, getting used to this new normal. It's about how you learned to have the capacity to hold this all together. Because a lot of times when we don't learn to have this capacity, we could easily slide back to where we were previously. It's about the holding, the learning of the stability, learning to regulate our nervous system, learning to expand the capacity of like what we can hold, and continuing to be in this frequency. The third thing that would be really important as a part of your hero's journey is the surge. So we talked about just now how we respond to good events. When something good happened in your life, is not about how I hit it by accident and then I slide back down, right? It's not about how it was just a lucky break and then when my lucky break passed, how I just lost it. It's about when I hit that point, how I continue, like how I acknowledged that point, how I celebrated that point, and how I was able to bring myself from here to the next level. It's about the surge. So if you're able to have one of these three elements, the comeback, the holding, and the surge, then you would have yourself a very beautiful life story, even as you're telling it right now. So this is what makes your hero's journey so beautiful, so great, and this is what makes it really, truly story worthy, because I believe in every single one of you, you have an epic life. Even though sometimes it's hard to see that, like I'm living at home in these four walls, don't really have that many friends, I don't have much going on in my life, I don't go out much, I don't socialize, blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of times it's hard to see that we have an epic life. But if we were to honor the power of our story and at the same time, we allow ourselves to tell it, the power comes from the expression of that, from the sharing of our stories, because otherwise our stories would just be kept in our hearts. So I hope that this helps you find your own hero's journey and to be able to tell your story to someone and to share your life lessons in the way that they need to hear it, and that this helps you feel really proud about yourself that you have come this far. So thank you so much for being here on this video. Make sure you let me know what you guys think in the comments. I love you all. And with that said, take care and I'll be seeing you in the next video.